Afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is safe, more importantly. It's great that we're doing this. We did one of these yesterday and it was really, really good. You're all sitting from the comfort of your own homes, I'm sure, drinking a cup of coffee. So I'm going to crack on with the presentation right now because I'm conscious that we have time and I want to get on some questions and answers at the end. So let me just get onto here. Brilliant. So I will now crack on. So the power of Facebook ads. So yes, as Ash presented me in, he was talking about how this works for businesses and all different types of businesses. And that is the one thing that we've picked up the most in our agency over the last 12 months, really. Before that, it was very much on a B2C, or the perception of Facebook was that it's B2C. Now, what I want to go through on this web class really is the fact that the people you are trying to target are on Facebook, okay? And we're going to go over that, specifically why I believe that and why I know that, and the stats also show that. So what do you see here? Well, it's the same thing we see everywhere. We see it in our own homes, we see it in our own lives, we see it on the tube, we see it, going past too quickly, in businesses, everywhere. People are glued to their phones, and it's of all age groups. The over 60 plus is now one of a very, very large age group to get on there, which kind of shows that the whole technology, mobile interfaces, everything is really moving into all walks of life, from 11-year-olds illegally starting their Facebook account because you have to be 13, but it happens, and I'm sure our own children are even doing it, and we're even doing it for them. Everyone is on Facebook. Now, this puts a smile on our face as advertisers. Why does it do that? Because they are going to see our ads everywhere they go. Facebook is an absolutely huge platform with a huge audience, with a fantastic ability to get into those demographics of the audience, and at very, very cheap rates. What does that all conclude? The opportunity is absolutely huge, and all businesses need to be on this platform and its group of platforms. So what does that mean for you? So let's start with the facts. Your customers spend most of their time on Facebook. Before we had this pandemic of the coronavirus, the average time on Facebook was 2.5 hours a day, which is unbelievable. That I would have, even though there are no stats out at the moment, I would completely believe that that has been increased due to the fact that we're not traveling around, we're working from home, our families at home, we're on this shutdown. There is going to be more time on Facebook. We are seeing our clients across the board having increases in their ROI, their lead generation, and all sorts, simply because this is a time when people are buying and they are learning and they've got time on their hands. 80% of internet users use Facebook. That's right. Every single person on this planet that has access to the internet, 80% of them have a Facebook account, whether it's being used 100% of the time as a facility, or whether it's just there and it's been set up, but 80% have it. Billions of users, 2.3 to 2.6 billion people across this world are using Facebook multiple times a day. So we talked very briefly on why this is such an important opportunity, and it comes down a lot to the audience. I've been in marketing for 20 years, and one of the other businesses I worked in very heavily is direct marketing with databases. And even from a database point of view, which I'm sure a lot of you have had experience in, you cannot get down to the demographics you're seeing on this screen right now. So we can target very, very heavily on who our audiences are. Now, you'll see here just on the diagram where we have a people connected to your page. If you have a large proportion of people on your page, you can actually, in Facebook, when you're in the advertising program, you can pull in your Facebook page, which will then change all these demographics to the people who are following you, which is a huge thing, because you can start seeing purchase behaviors. You can start seeing other pages that they like, where their location is, their activities, financial, work, education, which creates a huge picture for you to actually know the people who are interested in it. What that does then is we can take the findings from this and bring it into paid advertising to start selecting our audiences by age, by interest, behaviors, and locations. Facebook is also the cheapest form of advertising at this moment in time. You can literally spend £5 and reach 1,000 people. That is something that with something we call a CPM, which is how much it costs to get to 1,000 people. It doesn't make any sense at the moment to spend money on other expensive types of channels like radio ads, television, commercials, billboards. If you produce good video content, you can show it on Facebook through a targeted audience for absolute pennies and pounds compared to what it would be to do on television commercials. It's fast. So Facebook advertising is very fast. I could have set up an advert, well, I did set up an advert today for a client. That was set up at around about 9 a.m. this morning. It got reviewed by Facebook's computer and it got authorized by about 10 o'clock. By the end of today, it probably would have spent a certain amount of money. I think we set up on a £10 spend per day as a test. By the end of the day, I would have had about 1,500 impressions on that ad, and it will have showed me the data. It would have shown me the age groups people are clicking through. I may have had some purchases. We'll see the sort of people purchasing, add to carts, view page, view content. All this sort of information within a day has fed back to myself and my team to start analyzing. When you're talking about the accounts that you have access to, you could have 5, 10, 15, 20 ads, all working to different types of audiences, all showing your products and services off and getting that data back for every minute of the day. And you can keep analyzing and analyzing the data that's coming back. So if you're looking for a fast way to drive traffic and conversions, Facebook advertising is the best solution. Facebook advertising will boost your website traffic. You can run a website click campaign to target audience and send them to your website. That is what we advise and what we do when we first start optimizing for any new business. If you haven't already got a pixel on your website, and a pixel is kind of like Google Analytics code, which is set up uniquely for each business, you put that website, you put that code onto your website, and it starts finding and reading every single thing and every action that's been taken on your website. What we would do is we would use traffic, which is quite a cheap way of getting traffic from Facebook users to see an ad in their timeline, to show an interest and engage with that ad and click through to your website. Once they're at your website, we would start watching what they're doing, and then we would start retargeting them, start targeting them again by optimizing for different routes, whether it's lead campaigns, whether it's purchase campaigns, add to cart campaigns, and we'd start bringing people in a different way to get the kind of conversions that you're looking for. So Facebook advertising increases revenue, sales, and leads. It is not a myth. It actually drives revenue, sales, and leads. We're going to go onto a screenshot now, which I took last week, of a client's account. This client specifically sells jewelry. They spent £44.84 in Facebook ads and generated £220 in sales, which is nearly a 5 times ROI for their daily investment. So if we have a look at their account now, this is the inside of an advertising account, which is called Ads Manager. And in here, we would have different campaigns. We would have different ad sets associated to those campaigns, and we'd have different ads associated to the ad sets. Essentially what this means is this is where we set up the campaign we're trying to do. The ad set is where we choose the different types of audiences that we're trying to sell products into, and ads is where we set up the creative. Now you'll see here that we've got a couple of bits of coding, which I will go over shortly, which is TOF, which stands for the top of funnel, which is going out to a cold audience. And we have bottom of funnel, which is where we are trying to gain the conversions. So at the top of funnel here, we are sending an, we have spent on this particular day, £11.48. We've had 27 link clicks. We've had 29 content views. So that's been looking through the products. And we've had 4 add to carts showing a value here. And 2 of those become purchases at £110.50. So they've taken nearly a 10 times return on investment on that particular ad there. At the bottom of funnel, they've spent £4. They've taken 1 order off that at £112 for a piece of jewelry, which has given them a 28 times return on their ad spend. Now you'll see here that we call this a ROAS, return on ad spend. So very similar to ROI, it just, Facebook works it out from how much we're spending a day to how much we're taking in conversions, whether that's leads, whether it's courses, whether it's services, professional service, whatever it might be, we'll optimize for the same thing, and then we'll create diagrams of the stats depending on what the business would be. Here's another one for you. This company sells motorsport clothing. So they have spent £47 in Facebook ads and generated £570 in sales, which is 12 times their investment, which again, obviously we have a very happy client here. Again, we've got two types of different ads here. We've got a top of funnel, which is going out to a cold audience, and we've got a bottom of funnel, which is going to more conversions once someone understands and goes back from a retargeting point of view back into the website. So they have spent £26.76 here, 225 link clicks, which has led to 299 content views, 11 add to carts with a £735 value. Two of those add to carts have turned into an orders at £370, which has given them just under 14 times their return on daily ad spend. Bottom of funnel here, still strong, 108 clicks, 155 views on a £20 spend has led to £720 in add to cart, £200 in website purchase, full purchase coming through at just under a 10. So overall, they've had just over a 12 times return on their investment. So you can really see here the opportunity for businesses to get out to an audience which is absolutely huge at a low cost and start turning that into conversions, whether it's lead conversions for professional services or whether it's e-com for online stores. So yes, this makes us happy. It makes us clients very happy, but there is method to this madness. We have to do this. It's not just about getting an ad. You saw there we've had, and it's very important you see this, we've had two ads running, a top of funnel and a bottom of funnel. Now, we have to make sure we follow a specific framework, because going out for the low-hanging fruit at all times, which is what everyone is trying to do in this marketplace, in all different types of advertising marketplaces, is everyone's going in for the quick deal. They're trying to put an ad out there and they're trying to get someone in to come and buy straight away. You have to remember that no one knows who you are at this point, very rarely. So you have to bring them in, make them aware of your product or services, and bring them down a funnel. And that's exactly what we do from a Facebook advertising point of view. So there are certain things that you need to really pay attention to when you're thinking, is this right for our business? And we hear this a lot where people come to us and go, we know that Facebook works, we really want to get into it, we've seen all the things that can happen. But one of the biggest things there is their product isn't priced right. So their product is too cheap for the platforms they're wanting to advertise in. So you always have a daily spend. So Facebook is going to charge you money to get people to your website, to get people to converse with your website, to add to cart, all these different things, and how we optimize your ad at the beginning. And what I mean by optimization is telling Facebook what we want Facebook to do. Do we want to bring people to click links? Do we want people to buy our products? All these different things come at different costs to Facebook. If your product is too cheap and your margin isn't good within that product price, it means that you don't have profit left to throw back into Facebook to deal with their ad spend that they're going to charge you. That means you could be working at breaking even or even making a loss. Now, there are certain businesses who have got big money who actually are fine to do that for a period of time because they're creating a lot of content, they're trying to create a lot of traffic, and they know that based on their funnel, they have to go in with a higher cost at the beginning because they can acquire a customer for a certain amount later on, which is higher. But that all comes down to your own product. It all comes down into your own marketing techniques and what you know your product can do and how long your product will take to get a conversion, and also the lifetime value of a product, of a customer. So can your customer come in for a cheap price, but will they have multiple things over time to buy from your website, knowing that it might cost £30 for a client to come in, but over a 6-month period, you end up getting £1,000 of sales out of a client. So there's different ways you need to look at it. You can look at average order value. You can bundle packages up so that you can create a higher order value, which then counteracts the amount you need to spend to get a client in. And fourth, you need to create engagement. Will your product or service create the kind of engagement that you need for people to click through? So what is that magic formula? Very simply, it's the difference between throwing an ad out there to get the low-hanging fruit or warming up the people who are the apples on a tree which haven't become ripe yet, showing them your content, showing them your ads, getting them ready so when they do become that low-hanging fruit, they choose you as the person they want to do business with or buy products from because they've started being nurtured into that process. So we would look here as a visitor coming in. That visitor then enters your site. The visitor then gets tracked by the pixel, that bit of code that we put on your website, picks up on that particular visitor coming in. That visitor then leaves your site, but later on that day, they're on Facebook or they're on Instagram or they're on Messenger or WhatsApp, whatever the channel might be. You can then start showing them ads based on what they were doing or looking at on your website. That then goes back onto their display, so they're seeing you in their timeline, and they get brought back in again to enter your site. Now, this is the difference between Facebook ad campaigns at a basic level working or not working. Now, you might be thinking, well, it can't be that simple. Surely we just don't have 2 ads. You can just have 2 ads. Yes, we are dealing with clients of all different sizes, and some of our clients have huge ad accounts with multiple ads working at all times, and looking at the ad account, unless it's been set up in the right way or understanding it, you're going to get very confused with looking at those accounts. But you can do this by just setting up a nice top of funnel ad, a middle of funnel ad, and a bottom of funnel ad. So let's look at what information we get out of Facebook Pixel here. So these are various different accounts. We have one here which is based on complete registration. So this would be something like a webinar. So you might be servicing people to come into your business for your professional services, and you've realized that a webinar might be a good way, or you have tested webinars as a good way to come in. So you would put an ad out there and you get people to come into your webinar, and they'd be completing a registration by signing up to your webinar. You could then go back to Facebook and say, look at the type of people who are registering for our webinars. Can you go and find more people? Second one down here, this is based on e-commerce. So we've had page views, then we've had view content, which is people looking at products. Then we've had add to cart, initiate, checkout, and purchase. As we start getting more and more people onto the website, doing those actions, as you can see, 75,000 people on this particular website, they're getting a large amount of activity, which means that we are open to so many different strategic propositions that we can do to get audiences back into the website and get them to close and purchase products. Again, another one here based on lead generation, and another one on lead generation. So that's basically how the Facebook Pixel works. Now, so this is moving on to part of the magic, which is the ad structure. So at the top here in the blue area, we have the awareness. So I want you to think of this as a completely cold audience based on people who like dogs. So let's say we're selling dog collars. These people we've made them aware that we know these people have dogs, they have an interest in dogs, they like the Dogs Trust page. So we really know that they've got a love for dogs and interest in them. We're going to start showing awareness adverts to these dogs about our collars. So how easy these collars are to get on and off, different types of colors, different examples of them on dogs running through fields, looking really good on their leads, whatever it might be. We're then going to start retargeting to those people. So we could say, it could be a video, for instance. So we could say, anyone who watches 25% of this video, put them into a retargeting audience in Facebook. As soon as that audience starts building up to about 500, 1,000 people, we can start retargeting those 500,000 people and growing with a consideration ad of other benefits that collar does for someone who owns a dog. We can then start showing them conversion ads. So what we've done is taken them very, very briefly down a funnel of making someone who's cold aware of our product, start making that person consider our product by seeing further ads, and then they're starting to create more trust and are ready to see more of a CTA and a conversion ad to get that person to purchase our product. So how do we get started? Well, you're going to need a Facebook business page which sits on a personal account. So essentially you have a personal Facebook page. You then have the opportunity to set up a business Facebook page, and I'm sure most of you have got Facebook business pages. From that, it is just as simple as going onto Facebook Business Manager, Googling it, and setting up a business manager page. This is where everything gets brought into, and then you have your ads manager where you set up your ads. So looking at this here, this is an example of a Facebook business manager. We have the people who are involved, we have pages, ad accounts, Instagram accounts. So this is where payments, everything is brought in. In data sources here is where you'd set up your pixel. And then as you've seen, this is ads manager. So very simply, this is where we run the ads. We create a new ad here. And we start setting up by setting its audience and setting its imagery and its propositions. So what next? It's come to the end of the presentation now. I would advise, if you've got any questions, Ash is going to go over those right now, but obviously there are a few questions coming through. If you'd like to, we do have our portal open, which Ash is going to present to you in a second. I can let you all into the room there and we can start asking questions. If you have more questions after that, then we can arrange a call or send an email and we can go from there. So we'll be there until 2 o'clock, myself and my colleague James, and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for your time.
James, thank you so much for that. That was brilliant. Really good to hear from you. And like you say, I'm going to crack on to the question and answers now and get right into that so we don't waste any more time. If anyone wants a more detailed chat, like you say, please do head over. But hang around for these questions now because I think that might answer a few bits. The first one, I think it's a pretty simple one to maybe cover off. With regards to the Facebook pixel, does it need to be on your website for each ad that you run, or can Pixel cover all?
It'll cover the whole website. So all you need to do is take that pixel code, put it on the header of your website, and it'll pick up all different pages. There is then something called event code. So in the presentation, we talked about how you optimize your adverts if you're doing lead generation, purchases. If you're an e-commerce site, the pixel will essentially pick up on everything, add to carts, purchases. If you're not e-com and you're trying to generate lead generation or get webinars or download products, then you can set something up in the pixel area called event code. And that will, you literally choose from a list of things. So you could say, anyone who downloads my product, they have to put their email address and name in. Let's say we choose complete submit application. You would take that submit application code and you'd stick it on the thank you page after you've got someone's details. So event code always goes after someone has done something, and that then feeds back into Facebook. So on your ads manager, you can say, okay, today we had 3 people for submitted applications. I'm spending £10 a day, which means it's cost you £3.50 or whatever to get an application.
Brilliant, thanks for that. The repeated question that keeps coming up, and I will kind of try and answer as much of it as we can in one go. However, it's about industry. How Facebook ads works for B2B. We know that it works well for B2C, but how do you translate that into a B2B setting? And you know, everyone's going to want to know about their specific industry. So if you can give us an overview of B2B, and if they want to know about the industry, they can come and talk to you. Okay,
so just to start off, if you do have questions about that, come to our portal, because James and I will want to speak to you about what your industry is actually, because we'll have different ideas about different industries. But the way I want you to think about this is that the the managing directors, the marketing directors, the sales directors, whoever you're doing, we're all just human beings at the end of the day, going back to our social media platforms in the evenings at lunchtimes and things like that. Facebook and the other platforms have all become huge areas where people spend a lot of time. So once someone takes off their managing director hat and go into dad at home mode, they are still have access to these platforms, and I use these platforms. We still use these platforms all the time. So it's about getting your message in the right way. Now, depending on what your industries are, we can find out what the interests of these people are. We can even target by job titles now in Facebook, which is a relatively new thing. And it's starting to build up more and more as Facebook's getting more and more information from its data houses. That's all in there. So it's more to the point of, yes, it can work for so many B2B, it does. Can this work for everyone? We don't know at this moment in time. But what is prevalent on Facebook, it is so cheap to test. If you really want to push this out correctly, just testing £500 over a month basis can really get you back the data you need to know whether it's something you want to push on, especially when you use someone like us who has their expertise of where we can find that knowledge. But ask us these questions individually in our portal, arrange a call or send us an email. It's the best way to do it.
Excellent. That covers off quite a few people asking about that sort of side of things and how it affects them particularly. So moving away from that, how away from sales and e-commerce, if you don't have an e-commerce platform or you don't sell a product as such, how do you use Facebook, and is it suitable for brand awareness campaigns alone? Yeah,
definitely. So there is a brand awareness optimization option to set up an ad, and what that will do is it will show ads to the most amount of people for as little money as possible. Now, there are positives and negatives to that. Because you don't have that, Facebook isn't utilizing its algorithm that much because it's not really defined on what it's trying to do. Again, it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're a cafe, Facebook up until this pandemic had in stores. So restaurants, a new thing in the last 8 months from Facebook is that if you've got an ad saying, hey, come and try our new menu out in our restaurant, it will now follow your GPS on your mobile. So if you walk into that restaurant, I know, and you know as a marketing manager, looking at your ad, that your ad went out for £10 a day promoting your new menu, and 10 people walked in to your restaurant. So you're actually now being able to get a return on investment of people who came to your restaurant. That's been switched off at the moment because no one's going to restaurants, but it will be switched on once we start getting life back to normal again. So it actually depends on it's a conversation to have directly with that particular business. And we can, without knowing that business, we won't know if we've got examples of future or other clients that are doing the same sort of thing.
Okay, fantastic. And again, a reiterated question, but you're focusing on Facebook, and I understand that's where your sort of expertise lie, and that's your chosen platform. However, younger demographics maybe are using lots of different social media apps nowadays as that space grows.
Yeah.
You know, can you lend a sort of helping hand to people that are watching this? Perhaps what other options have they got out there? And
so you have Facebook, and within Facebook you have Facebook Messenger, you have Instagram, and you have WhatsApp. So in its group of companies, so you can target each of those either as a whole or as an individual basis. So Messenger is very good because it's got bots and people look at their Messenger because it's like people are using it like text message. WhatsApp has just been brought out now that you can actually link WhatsApp to your Facebook business page, which means that Facebook is now recognizing that that's overtaking Messenger, and they know that people have got their groups and things like that. So this is always evolving, and Facebook are always looking at that. In regards to things like TikTok, that's grown very quickly, and we are right at this moment in time, actually, our team is investigating how we can start doing that. By doing that, we're actually using our own presence as a learning curve in TikTok. You can advertise on TikTok at the moment, but you can only advertise as a business, and then you have to have permissions to advertise as a business. TikTok hasn't yet released a way for an agency like us to actually do it for clients in TikTok, but it will come. Like all these platforms, it ends up coming, because where the audiences are is where advertisers end up being.
Brilliant. Nick, that's pretty much all we got time for, and there are a few questions that maybe haven't been answered during this session. So we have put in the chat. I'm going to ask Katie just to do it one last time, so it's right at the bottom. That's going to be the link to Nick's stand. You can head straight over there. Nick and his colleague James will be on the stand. Please feel free to hop over and ask them a question about your business and about how they can help you through this. So yeah. Nick, thank you so much for your presentation. That was brilliant. I took a lot from it, as I'm sure the visitors did.
No problem.
And thank you everybody for attending this penultimate session. You can head back to the virtual event. We've got one seminar left today, and I'd love to see you there. So thanks everyone.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Bye.